Good morning.
I feel good, like I knew that I would now. I feel good, yeah, like I knew that I would now. So good, I got you, and I feel nice like sugar and spice. I feel nice, oh, like sugar and spice. So nice, I got you. When I hold you in my arms, I know my love can do you no harm. When I hold you in my arms, my love can do you no harm. And I feel good, like I knew that I would. Oh, I feel good, come on, like I knew that I would now. So good, I got you. I feel good in my arms. I know my love can do you no wrong. When I hold you in my arms, my love can do me no harm. And I feel nice like sugar and some spice. I feel nice, oh, like sugar and spice. So nice, I got you.
Look who's back this morning with us right here in the upper room in the big city of Freeport, Florida. It is Miss Sarah Ann Davidson.
Hello.
It is so good to see you, Sarah.
Good to see y'all.
You know, we put you to work real quick on that because it is James Brown. It would have been James Brown's birthday today.
Oh, is it? I didn't
That's
know that.
exactly
Happy
right.
birthday,
May
James
3rd.
Brown.
You know any Bing Crosby? Because it's
couple
Bing's
Bing.
birthday too today, but that's probably a bridge too far for me.
Yeah.
Well, actually, James Brown's a bridge too far for me, but you did it just fine, just fine. You got another song for us, I think,
Attempted.
this morning, don't you?
Oh, I do actually have another song today. This song is one that I found, I don't know when it was written. I want to say it was written recently, but by an artist, or two artists named Cody Carnes and Carrie Job. And it's just basically the prayer of Jabez. And I just think it's so needed in this time. So I just pray this blessing over y'all.
Lord bless you and keep you. Make his face shine upon you. Be gracious to you. go before you and beside you and behind you and before you and around you. He is with you, he is with you. May his favor go before you and 1,000 generations for your family and your children and their children and their children. May his favor be upon you for 1,000 generations. May your family and your children and their children and their children. May his favor go before you and behind you and around you and within you. He is with you. Children and their children and their children. Amen. May his favor go before you and behind you and around you and beside you. He is in you, he is with you, he is with you. And you're coming and you're going and you're rising and you're weeping. He's for you, he is for you, he is for you.
That's fantastic. Welcome back, Sarah. Why don't you just sing the rest of it?
We want to hear from you.
Have you been staying busy?
I have. Well,
You been behaving though?
I've been behaving. I've been quarantined. Things got a little intense there for a minute.
They did, and they make it intense again.
Yeah,
The
they
beaches are
probably
filling
will.
up again, you know. And you know, if you're watching today from Georgia or Alabama or Tennessee or Texas, stay home for just a few more days. You know, give us a little time. We've been doing really well in Walton County, 35 or so cases, but we had 5 more this weekend, and so we're just trying to stay safe out there. I know everybody wants to go back to work, Lord knows, but let's try to take care of each other. Not only is it James Brown's birthday today and Bing Crosby, I got one more for you. The great Pete Seeger. He'd be like 110 or something today, I think. Garrett, behind the camera, does not know who Pete Seeger is. Go ahead, throw a comment in there. I see what you're doing. You're over there saying something about it. Oh, he's gonna mute me. So we couldn't let Pete go by without a song. So here's my favorite Pete Seeger song. Jumped on out there. I like it. If I had a hammer, I'd hammer in the morning. I'd hammer in the evening. All over this land. I'd hammer out the day. I'd hammer out a warning. I'd hammer out the love between my brothers and my sisters all over this land. If I had a bell, I'd ring it in the morning. I'd ring it in the evening. All over this land, I'd ring out the danger. I'd ring out a warning. my brothers and my sisters all over this land. If I had a song, I'd sing it in the morning, I'd sing it in the evening, all over this land. I'd sing out the danger, I'd sing out a warning, I'd sing the love between my brothers and my sisters all over this land. Walk it, Ricky. And I got a bell, and I've got a song to sing all over this land. It's the hammer of justice, it's the bell of freedom, it's a song about the love between my brothers and my sisters all over this land. It's a song about love between my brothers and my sisters all over this land. Kevin Simonson coming to you from his home. Kevin, we miss you. Glad to hear from you singing today.
Hi there. I've missed you all, and I'm glad to be coming to you today to bring a song to worship. And the song I'm going to sing is by Michael Stipe, the former lead singer of REM, which is a favorite band of mine. And I think this song's especially appropriate right now in the times that we live in, and I hope you enjoy it. No time for breezing, no time for arguments, no time for love like now. There's no time in the bardo, no time in the in-between, no time for love like now. No time for dancing, no time for undecideds, no time for love like now. Where did this all begin to change? Lockdown memories can't sustain, listening, hanging, free fall. Turned away from the glorious light. I turned my head and cried. Whatever waiting means in this new place, I am waiting for you. Time for honey, no time for psalms and thresholds, the whisper a sweet prayer sigh. Where did this all begin to change? Lockdown memories can't sustain, this wing hanging free fall. whatever waiting means in this new place. I am waiting for you.
The reading today is from Ecclesiastes chapter 3, a very old book in the Bible. You probably know it well. There's a time for everything. Personally, it's a very meaningful passage, as in 1986, when we were sitting with my 56-year-old mum in hospice who was dying of cancer, she kept saying, "Is it time yet?" And our reply, giving her peace, was from this passage: there is a time. It's God's time, and He knows your time. And for her then, as well as for us today, our times are in His hands. Ecclesiastes 3. For everything there is a season, a time for every activity under heaven, a time to be born and a time to die, a time to plant and a time to harvest, a time to kill and a time to heal, a time to tear down and a time to build up, a time to cry and a time to laugh, a time to grieve and a time to dance, a time to scatter stones and a time to gather stones, a time to embrace and a time to turn away, a time to search and a time to quit searching, a time to keep and a time to throw away, a time to tear and a time to mend, a time to be quiet and a time to speak, a time to love and a time to hate, a time for war and a time for peace. What do people really get for all their hard work? I have seen the burden God has placed on us all, yet God has made everything beautiful for its own time. He has planted eternity in the human heart, but even so, people cannot see the whole scope of God's work from beginning to end. So I concluded there is nothing better than to be happy and enjoy ourselves as long as we can. And people should eat and drink and enjoy the fruits of their labour, for these are gifts from God. The love, joy and peace of God be with us all in this time.
It was the time of the preacher when the story began, of a choice of a lady and the love of a man. How he loved her so dearly, but he went out of his mind when she left him for someone that she left behind. Cried just like a baby, screamed just like a panther in the middle of the night. So he saddled up his pony and he went for a ride. It was the time of the preacher in the year of '01. Now the preaching is over and the lesson's begun. Forgive her, though he tried and he tried. the preaching is over and the killing has begun. Yes, the preaching is over and the killing has begun. That's right. Get on out of here. They shut the door on Sarah Ann. That's great. Thanks, Ricky. Don't do that. She's dressed like Carol Baskin.
I'm gonna beat you to the tiger.
Fantastic. Well, Willie Nelson wrote that song that you heard today, Time of the Preacher, because not only is it Bing Crosby's birthday and James Brown's birthday and Pete Seeger's birthday, this weekend we also saw Willie Nelson's birthday. He is 87 years young. Please, coronavirus, don't take Willie from us. You already took John Prine. Don't take Willie from us. Well, Willie wrote Time of the Preacher in 1975 as part of a larger concept album. That album was like nothing he had ever done before or since, and it was called The Red-Headed Stranger, and he's been known as The Red-Headed Stranger ever since, and it became a movie starring Willie himself as the preacher a decade later. It follows Willie, who plays Reverend Julian Shea, who comes from the east to the wild, wild west with burning evangelistic fire, and he is going to spread the gospel and convert the sinners. But his wife, who has traveled west with him, that seductress Morgan Fairchild, she leaves the preacher for another man. Now, I've been there, Willie. Everything's going to be all right. Everything's going to be okay. But it wasn't okay. The preacher is heartbroken. He cried just like a baby. He screamed like a panther in the middle of the night, and he saddled up his pony and he went for a ride. Where is Willie going? To take vengeance on his cheating wife and her new lover. He finds the couple in a saloon in some faraway mining town, and having traded his King James Bible for a 6-shooter, the preacher guns them down so fast that they die, quote, with their smiles still on their faces. That's a line from one of the songs on that album and from the movie Blue Rock, Montana, where this killing took place. Now, as an aside, the gunslinging preacher is an archetypical anti-hero of the Wild Wild West. And for the record, the darker side of me loves it with all my heart. With Willie Nelson, it's Shay, the red-headed stranger. In the DC Comics and the television series based on that comic, the preacher is Jesse Custer, a chain-smoking drunk with unique powers who is trying to find his way back to God. For Clint Eastwood, the preacher is the only name given to the mysterious gunslinger in Pale Rider, an avenging angel, as it were, evening the score with the forces of evil. But back to Willie Nelson. The preacher, after taking his revenge, becomes lost in every meaning of the word possible. As one character says in the movie, he used to be a preacher before he took to killing. And he rambles town to town on a black horse, and with a bitter heart, he guns down a dozen people for various reasons, sometimes for even the slightest offense. He ends up at the end of himself, a broken, guilt-ridden man. And he stops at this homestead where there's a single mother, a widower. Her name is Laurie, who is raising her only son. And he just starts plowing the ground there, prepping the field for planting. And Laurie asks the preacher, "What made you do that? Just show up here and start plowing." And the preacher answers, "I guess I'd already gone as far as I could in the other direction." And in Laurie, he finds love again. He finds redemption. He finds healing and restoration. The final song in the album, the final scene, is him happily aging with Laurie, taking her son in as his own, singing Hands on the Wheel, another great song. He says, "At a time when the world seems to be spinning hopelessly out of control. There's deceivers and believers and old in-betweeners that seem to have no place to go. Well, it's the same old song. It's right and it's wrong, and living is just something that I do. With no place to hide, I looked in your eyes, and I found myself in you. I looked to the stars, I tried all the bars, and I've nearly gone up in smoke. But now my hand's on the wheel, I've got something that's real, and I feel like I'm going home. That is fantastic. Masterpiece. What does this Bible preaching, vengeance taking, gun toting, redemption seeking, love finding cowboy story have to do with this reading from Ecclesiastes chapter 3? Everything. Everything. First things first, the title of this book. Ecclesiastes is an ambiguous Hebrew word. The best translation is teacher, or better yet, preacher. The preacher. That's the title of this book. And traditionally, the preacher is King Solomon, a man not unlike Willie Nelson in The Red-Headed Stranger, actually. Solomon lived an adventurous life, to say the least. Crown prince, king, wise man, sage, temple builder, even a Bible thumper for a while, but also a hedonist, an adulterer, a vengeance taker, a murderer. He played all of those roles and many more. And he comes to the end of his life, and that's where some scholars feel like he was when he wrote Ecclesiastes, and much of the light has been driven from his eyes. He comes across as a discouraged man in seek of redemption, absolution of some kind. The Solomon from the book of Proverbs is smart. He's quick. He's optimistic. He is the guy that says witty things at the cocktail party, things that you just know are magic, and people hang on his every word. The Solomon who wrote Song of Songs is a Casanova, a charmer, a lover, a seducer. He's all about sex and romance, and you'll either wake up in the morning in the bed with him, or you'll scurry away as fast as you can, still blushing from everything he had to say. He's just too much, but he is not boring. So when we come to Ecclesiastes, we are shocked that the preacher is the same man we knew when he was younger. There's a lesson here, as an aside, but one that we shouldn't let pass. If you believe everything at 40 that you believed at 20, you've wasted 20 years of your life. If you believe everything at 60 that you believed at 40, you've wasted 2 more decades of your life. And if you believe everything at 80 that you believed at 60, you're just losing years one after the other. Don't lose your imagination as you age. Be careful to guard against pessimism and cynicism as you get older. Getting older isn't about the number of birthdays you have had. It's a function of the heart and the soul. Things, sure, they ache that didn't used to ache, and you get all metallic. Silver in your hair, gold in your teeth, and lead in your ass. I understand that. But in addition to going metallic, aging is also about losing your curiosity. It's about closing your mind. It's about stopping on the journey, getting off the train, and choosing to go no further, to learn nothing more and to cut yourself off from anything new, daring, even a little dangerous. You can be like some of our friends among us at Simple Faith, like Paul LaRoche, who became a father after 50. Be like Jeff Allen, who has started a series of businesses after 60. Be like Aunt Natasha, moved to the beach after 70. Be like Terry Olive, buy your first smartphone after 80. Be like Hilda McDonald, keep playing piano gigs in restaurants and bars after 90. Don't stop learning. Don't stop growing. Don't stop loving. The minute you do those things, you are dead, even if you keep your body for several more decades. But back to the preacher. He's cynical, he's jaded, he's hardened by time and his experience. The theme of the book of Ecclesiastes is a single word: meaningless. Everything is meaningless. Or as the old translations put it, vanity. Vanity of vanities, everything is vanity. The Hebrew word is havel. emptiness, uselessness, meaninglessness. It's used, this word havel is used about 60 times in the Old Testament, and 30 of those times, half the time, it's used in Ecclesiastes alone. Meaningless, meaningless, says the preacher. Everything is meaningless. That's the opening salvo of the book. And it's repeated over and over. Life is meaningless. Pleasure is meaningless. Success is meaningless. Wisdom is meaningless. Being a human being is meaningless. Dreaming of something better is meaningless. Money is meaningless. Laughter is meaningless. Everything under the sun is meaningless. This is the seedbed of Jewish existentialism, as it's called. And humor me a minute. I am somewhat of an existentialist myself. What does that mean? Well, the short of it means that the world makes no sense to me most of the time. The world is largely insane. Life is absurd. And I can't wait for someone to come along with a perfect formula, a perfect religion, a perfect politics, a perfect scientific hypothesis, a perfect ideology, or a perfect moral code that will sort it all out nice and neat. I've fallen into that trap in my life. It does not exist. There is no utopia. It is up to me, it is up to us, all of us, to enter into the absurdity of living and to see the world for how it really is, and then to discover who we really are in light of these surroundings. We have to find our true, authentic selves in the face of, in spite of, so much that is false and misleading around us. We make meaning for ourselves, though we are surrounded by everything that is meaningless. Now, an example of what I'm saying. Have you ever been to a blacksmith? And that's a lost art form for the most part, unless you've watched Blacksmith on History Channel, or if you go to a Renaissance festival, you go to some homesteader museum, then you'll see actual working blacksmiths. But it's really an art form, if anything at all. What does that blacksmith do? He or she takes wrought iron, junk, just chunks of metal, and by forge and by fire and by anvil and by hammer creates something useful, even beautiful, out of what was not there. You put wrought iron into a forge, a giant heated oven. You put that iron in the oven, get it up to 900 degrees before it glows red. You put steel in that same oven. You have to get it to 2,500 degrees before it will glow white. But once you use that kind of heat and pressure, you remove it from the furnace, and then you pound it with the hammer, the striking of the blow, to make it malleable, to make it changeable, to make it useful. It takes a lot of working it out. It takes a lot of blood, sweat, and tears. It takes a lot of hammer blows to get something meaningful out of what appeared ugly and useless. And I think that's what a lot of us are doing, even more so in these recent days. We're not just trying to make sense of things. We are working it out. And I know for my part, I ask and don't yet have answers to some of the bigger questions. And these have been around since the time of the preacher in Ecclesiastes. How can there be such a good God when there is such a stupid world? How can I hold to faith when everything around me feels so empty? Why even try? Why even try when it doesn't seem to matter? But we keep trying, don't we? We keep believing. We constantly gather those raw materials and cast them in the fire. We are forever pounding the steel to shape something beautiful and useful. That's what we are doing when we pray. when we take long, quiet walks, when we contemplate, when we meditate, when we sit in silence. It's what we are doing when we lie awake at night with insomnia and our minds are unable to stop whirling. It's what we do when we decide I've got to get up and go to work anyway today. It's what we do by keeping to care. It's what we do when we keep hoping. What we're doing is swinging that hammer, Pete Seeger, because it's a hammer of justice. We're ringing that bell because we believe in freedom. We keep singing that song about love all over this land because we are forging purpose, making meaning where no meaning seems to be found. In Ecclesiastes, in our text today, we see the painstaking exercise taking place in these dozen or so verses. In verses 1 through 8, the preacher shows us the problem. And I know these verses are a nice neo-communist hippie dream, just as Pete Seeger intended it to be when he wrote Turn, Turn, Turn. But that's not the statement Solomon was trying to make, as much as I love that song, particularly the version by the Byrds. It's not about the age of Aquarius or some utopia to come once evil and war and injustice have expended their time. No, the preacher is saying this: as life now is, it once was. And as life once was, it will be so in the future. Life has continued in these cycles, more or less the same, running along the same rails, returning over and over again to the same places. People are born, people die. It's always been that way. We plant and we harvest, we kill and we heal, we destroy things and we create things, we cry, we laugh, we grieve, we dance, just as all humanity has ever done and ever will do. We gather, we scatter, we embrace, we turn away, we seek, we give up, we keep, we throw away, we rip and tear, we mend and repair, we are struck silent, we make noise, we love, we hate, we make war, we make peace. It has always been this way. It will always be this way. Personalities will change. Times will change. Technologies will change. Empires will rise and fall. But history, if it doesn't repeat itself, as the saying goes, it certainly rhymes. And the circle of life just keeps rolling along, each of us playing our bit parts on the stage while it is our turn. We took someone else's place on the stage, and when we expire, someone else will take our spot on the stage. The preacher's assessment is absolutely correct. The absurdity of it all rolls on like a ceaseless, unstoppable runaway train. That's the problem. In this cycle, we have to make meaning out of that. And so we come to verses 9 through 13. Hidden beneath his cynicism, hidden beneath his weariness, the preacher takes his hammer to a lifetime of experience and answers one of the most important questions that can ever be asked. How then should I live? If this is my world, and this is how it is, how do I live? He speaks of our work, the burden of existence and eternity that has been placed upon us and within us, and of the incomprehensible mystery that is God and life. And then he gives us the answer. There is nothing better than to be happy, enjoy yourself as long as you can. And people should eat and drink and enjoy the fruits of their labor, for these are gifts from God. Every time, go read this book. Go read the preacher's words. Every time in this book that he throws up his hands in defeat, like Willie Nelson saying, I've gone as far as I could the other way, the preacher turns and makes his way back home. Ecclesiastes 2, I decided there's nothing better than to enjoy food and drink and find satisfaction in my work. These pleasures are from the hand of God. Chapter 5, I have noticed one thing at least that is good. It is good for people to eat, drink, and enjoy their work during the short life God has given them. This is a gift from God. Chapter 9, eat your food with joy. Drink your wine with a happy heart, for God approves of this. Live happily with the one you love through all the meaningless days of life. God has given you. On and on I could go. It's this simple. And this is not one of those perfect ideologies to come along, but it is this simple. If you have good food, something good to drink, are loved by a good man or a good woman, have good friends and good work that you believe in, or if you've ever had those things, you have everything. You are living the most meaningful existence in the history of the world. You have forged a true life in the midst of futility. You made a decision to make meaning out of the nonsense, just as the preacher did. Solomon, of course, that preacher, but also Willie Nelson's preacher. At a time when the world seems to be spinning hopelessly out of control, there's deceivers and believers and old in-betweeners that seem to have no place to go. It's the same old song. It's right and it's wrong. I looked to the stars, tried all the bars, and I've nearly gone up in smoke. But now my hand's on the wheel. I've got something that's real, and I feel like I'm going home. That'll work for this preacher too, because that's how we find meaning in this world. Will you pray with me? God, you make all things beautiful in your time. You make all things right in your time. You make all things whole in your time. You make all things worthwhile in your time. And as for us with Tolkien, we wish certain things had not happened in our time. But that is not for us to decide. All we have to decide is what to do with the time that is given us. So, Lord, make us decisive. Help us to use our days to love and to be loved, to be grateful and grace-filled, and to find and live in the meaning that you provide. In Christ we ask these things. Amen. Everything, there is a season and a time to every purpose under heaven. A time to be born, a time to die, a time to plant, a time to read, a time to kill, a time to hear, a time to laugh, a time to weep. To everything turn, there is a season turn, and a time to every purpose under heaven. A time to build up, a time to break down, a time to dance, a time to mourn, a time away stones, a time to gather stones together, a time to love, a time to hate, a time of war, a time of peace, a time you may embrace, a time to refrain from embracing. To everything turn, there is a season, turn, and a time to every purpose under heaven, a time to rend, a time to sow, a time to gain, a time to lose, a time for love, a time for hate, a time for peace. I swear it's not too late. Thanks for joining us again today. I can't thank Sarah Ann enough for being back today and being with us. Just fantastic, Sarah. I think you may have just blown all decibels out because your voice is incredible.
Oh, thank you.
And, so glad you're here to share it with us. And as always, Ricky and Tim, don't be upset that Ricky's moved to the back row. He likes it back there. He actually prefers it back there.
Maybe that's why he shut the door on me.
Yeah, he's like that. He can be like that. And then we also have Tim has 2 microphones. I don't know if y'all can show that in the video because he's complained excessively about how no one can hear him on the recording. So I hope that you'll show him that that's not the case. That's right. You gotta be ready. Garrett, Bobby, thanks again so much. Thanks to Cindy downstairs, who is feeding us and keeping us in coffee and snacks and water and everything else. Yes. And our prayers go out today to so many that are on our prayer list. Listen, we have not forgotten you, and neither have our prayer groups that meet. Garrett is doing a fantastic job keeping the list circulating, and we think of all of you. We wish we could see you, but if you're sick, it's certainly to your advantage that we not see you, and we pray for you and love you from a distance. You know, it was so good, we ought to do I Feel Good again, because it was so good. Is that all right with everybody out there? Comments coming in? Let's hear Sarah sing it again.
Okay.
I feel good, like I'm moving out now. I feel good, yeah, like I'm moving out now. Yeah. So good, I got you. Oh, I feel nice like sugar and spice. I feel nice like sugar and spice. Yeah. So nice, I got you. When I'm in my arms, I know my love won't do you no wrong. When I hold you in my arms, I know you no harm. And I feel like I knew that I would. I feel good, like I knew that I would now.
Thanks for coming out today and joining us online. Garrett will be here Wednesday evening. We'll be doing our Q&A at 6:30 right here live. You take care of each other. Be careful on the beaches. If you're going back to work, be safe. We'll catch you on the other side.
I feel nice. Like